She was not born into royalty. She was raised in exile, among a people scattered far from home. Her name was Esther. When King Xerxes ruled from Susa, his authority stretched across 127 provinces, from India to Kush. His throne commanded armies. His word shaped laws that could not be revoked, and one law was written. At the urging of Haman the Agagite, a decree was sealed with the king's signet ring, appointing a single day for the destruction of an entire people, young and old, women and children. Couriers rode swiftly across the empire. Cities read the order aloud. Mourning filled the streets, sackcloth at the gates, ashes in every province. Inside the palace, Esther wore a crown, but she had not been summoned in 30 days. To enter the inner court uncalled meant death, unless the golden scepter was extended. A sleepless night would come. A gallows would rise 50 cubits high. A banquet would bring hidden intent into the light. But the decree still stood. When the law cannot be undone, and silence promises safety, who will stand? Across the vast empire of Persia, the Jewish people lived scattered beneath a foreign throne, and their story begins there. In the vast empire of Persia, stretching from India to Kush, the Jewish people live scattered among foreign provinces. From river valleys to fortified cities, from trade routes to distant villages, they dwell as minorities beneath a power not their own. They are descendants of covenant promise, yet they live under a pagan throne. The temple in Jerusalem has been rebuilt. Sacrifices rise again from its altar, yet many have not returned. Many remain in exile, families rooted in foreign soil, raising children beneath foreign laws, learning to survive without sovereignty. They are not enslaved, but they are not home. Their language is heard in marketplaces. Their customs are quietly observed. Their laws are practiced without public recognition. They live in peace, but not in control. On the throne sits King Xerxes, ruler of immense wealth and unpredictable temper. His empire spans continents. His treasury overflows. His word is law. His favor determines life or death. A gesture from his hand can elevate a servant or erase a people. Among the exiles is a young Jewish woman named Esther. Orphaned and raised by her cousin Mordecai, she carries both beauty and quiet strength. Her life is small in the scale of empire, unknown, unremarkable. She does not yet know how near the danger has drawn. The Jews in Persia are no strangers to exile. Their fathers were carried from Jerusalem. Some returned, many did not. They have built homes beneath foreign rule. They trade in its markets. They speak its language. They live in peace, but they do not rule. This threat will not come with armies. It will not batter city walls. It will move through the palace, through council, through decree. The people are scattered. The throne is distant. The law is absolute. And within the court of Persia, a decision is forming that will place an entire people in jeopardy. No trumpet announces it. No warning sounds in the streets. Yet the empire is already shifting, quietly. In the 3rd year of his reign, King Xerxes hosts a feast. For 180 days, he displays the wealth of his kingdom. Gold vessels, marble columns, hangings of fine linen fastened with cords of purple, gardens enclosed by stone, with polished floors of porphyry and alabaster. Nobles come, military commanders, princes of the provinces. The empire gathers to witness its own power. Wine is served without limit. Royal generosity flows freely. For 7 additional days, the celebration moves into the palace courtyard itself. The doors open wider. The king's abundance is placed on display before servants and citizens alike. Strength must be seen to be believed, but pride rarely ends quietly. In the final days of celebration, when wine has loosened restraint and applause has grown familiar, the king commands Queen Vashti to present herself before the court, wearing the royal crown. The request is public. The setting is intoxicated. The moment is deliberate. Vashti refuses. Scripture does not record her reasoning. It records only her refusal. The court is unsettled. If the queen defies the king, what prevents others from doing the same? Advisors speak quickly. Disorder is feared more than injustice. Authority must be preserved. A decree is drafted and sent throughout the empire. Vashti shall not come before the king again. The throne beside the king stands empty. Across the provinces, another search begins. Young women are gathered from every region. They are brought to the citadel of Susa and placed under custody. Their lives narrow into preparation. For 12 months, they are made ready. 6 months with oil of myrrh, 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. Each woman waits her turn to enter the king's chamber. One night to be seen, one morning to be remembered or forgotten. Esther is taken into the royal house, not by ambition but by decree. She does not volunteer. She is taken. At Mordecai's command, she does not make known her people or her kindred. Hadassah, also called Esther, enters the king's house. She learns palace rhythms, court language, protocol. She waits. When her turn comes, she requests nothing beyond what is advised. No excess, no display. Of all who stand before the king, she finds favor in his sight. The royal crown is placed upon her head. The vacancy is filled. But more than a throne has shifted. A Jewish exile now sits beside the ruler of the most powerful empire on earth. No announcement explains it. No prophet interprets it. History moves, quietly. At the king's gate sits Mordecai. He is not robed in splendor. He holds no title of prominence, yet he remains near the flow of power, watching and listening, present where decrees pass and officials gather. Then Haman the Agagite is elevated above all other officials. The promotion is swift. Authority consolidates around him. The king commands that all servants at the gate bow and pay homage. They kneel. Mordecai does not. The refusal is quiet. No speech, no protest, no spectacle. Simply an absence of movement where movement is expected. Day after day, the others bow. Day after day, Mordecai stands. When questioned, he answers only this: he is a Jew. The explanation is simple, the implications are not. Haman notices. He sees a man who does not bow. Day after day, the refusal remains. His anger grows into fury. Haman the Agagite, Mordecai the Jew. Old names carry old conflicts. And this tension did not begin in Persia. Haman learns that Mordecai is a Jew, and that his people are scattered throughout the provinces of the kingdom. Their laws are different. They do not keep the king's laws. He seeks to destroy them all. In the first month, he casts Pur, the lot to determine the day. The lot falls in the 12th month, the month of Adar. On that appointed day, the Jews are to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated, young and old, women and children. The date is sealed. Haman approaches the king carefully. He does not speak of personal offense. He speaks of political threat. There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of every other people. They do not keep the king's laws. He offers 10,000 talents of silver to secure the decree. The king removes his signet ring and places it in Haman's hand. They write in the king's name and seal it with the royal ring. Mounted couriers carry the letters to every province. On a single appointed day, the Jews, young and old, women and children, are to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated, and their goods taken as plunder. The decree is proclaimed in Susa. The law cannot be revoked. When Mordecai learns of the decree, he tears his clothes. He puts on sackcloth and ashes and goes out into the midst of the city. His grief is not contained behind doors. It is visible, audible, public. He cries out with a loud and bitter cry. Across the provinces, wherever the king's command reaches, there is great mourning among the Jews. Fasting, weeping, lament. Many lie in sackcloth and ashes. The decree is not rumor. It is written, sealed, read aloud in marketplaces and city squares. Families hear it together. A date is named. A people are placed under sentence. Mordecai comes only as far as the king's gate, for no one clothed in sackcloth is permitted to enter it. Grief does not cross the threshold of power. Inside the palace, Esther hears that Mordecai stands at the gate clothed in sackcloth. She sends garments to clothe him, to replace his mourning with proper attire. He refuses them. Grief cannot be covered. Through intermediaries, Mordecai sends her a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for their destruction. The threat is no longer distant. It is documented. He instructs her to go to the king and plead for her people. But another law stands in the way. All the king's servants know the law. Anyone who approaches the king unbidden faces death, unless the golden scepter is extended. Esther has not been summoned in 30 days. The decree names her people for destruction. She is queen, but she is not exempt. To go in uncalled is to die. To remain silent is to abandon her people. The moment cannot be delayed. Mordecai's reply does not soften the truth. Do not think that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. The walls around her do not remove her name from the decree. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. He speaks with certainty about deliverance, though he does not name its source. The future of the covenant people does not rest entirely on one throne, yet the moment before her does. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? The question does not declare destiny. It leaves room for possibility, yet it presses upon her position. Esther is queen, but she is not beyond the reach of the decree. Position does not erase identity, and silence does not guarantee safety. She sends word back to Mordecai. Go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa, and hold a fast on my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my young women will fast as you do. There is no proclamation and no display. Only fasting. The city waits while the palace remains unaware. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. The law has not changed. The risk has not lessened. Yet the decision is made. For 3 days, the outcome remains unseen. No scepter is lifted. No decree is altered. Silence deepens. On the 3rd day, Esther puts on her royal robes. They are not garments of mourning, nor the simplicity of fasting. She dresses in the visible authority of her position. She stands in the inner court of the king's palace, opposite the entrance to the throne room. Those who are summoned enter. Those who are not remain outside. The law is known to all who serve there. Anyone who approaches the king in the inner court without being called faces death, unless the king extends the golden scepter in his hand. No exception is written. She has not been summoned. She stands and waits. The king sits on his royal throne inside the hall, facing the entrance. He looks up and sees her standing in the court. For a moment, nothing moves. Servants wait. Guards remain still. Then the king extends the golden scepter that is in his hand. The distance between life and death narrows to a gesture. Esther approaches and touches the tip of the scepter. The law is satisfied. Her life is spared. "What is it, Queen Esther?" the king asks. "What is your request? Even to half of my kingdom, it shall be given you." "If it please the king," she says, "let the king and Haman come today to a feast that I have prepared." So the king and Haman come to the banquet Esther has prepared. At the feast, the king asks her again for her petition. She answers, Let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the feast I will prepare. The matter remains unspoken. Another day is set. That night the king cannot sleep. No reason is stated. No disturbance is recorded. Rest simply does not come. He commands that the book of memorable deeds, the chronicles of the kingdom, be brought and read before him. Pages are opened. Records are recited. Among the entries is a report from years earlier. Mordecai had uncovered a conspiracy. 2 of the king's eunuchs had plotted to lay hands on him. The matter had been investigated, and the conspirators were executed. The account had been written. But no honor had followed. The king asks, "What honor or distinction has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" The answer is brief. Nothing has been done for him. Morning approaches. In the outer court, Haman arrives early. He has come to request permission to hang Mordecai on the pole he has prepared at his house. It stands 50 cubits high. Before Haman can speak, the king asks a question. What should be done for the man whom the king delights to honor? Haman assumes the honor is meant for himself. He asks for royal robes the king has worn, a horse the king has ridden, with a royal crown upon its head, and for public proclamation through the city square. The king answers without hesitation. Hurry, take the robes and the horse as you have said, and do so to Mordecai the Jew who sits at the king's gate. Leave out nothing that you have mentioned. The command is precise. Haman obeys. He clothes Mordecai. He leads him through the square and proclaims honor over the man he intended to destroy. When it is finished, Mordecai returns to the king's gate and resumes his place. Haman returns home with his head covered in mourning. His wife and his advisors speak plainly. If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the Jewish people, you will not overcome him. You will surely fall before him. Before the conversation ends, the king's eunuchs arrive. It is time for the second banquet. The king and Haman come to Esther's second banquet. The setting is smaller than the earlier feasts, more contained and private. Wine is poured again. The king turns to her. What is your wish, Queen Esther? It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to half of my kingdom, it shall be fulfilled. This time she answers directly. If I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be granted me for my wish, and my people for my request. She does not begin with accusation. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. The language of the decree is now spoken at the table. If we had been sold merely as slaves, men and women, I would have been silent, for our affliction is not to be compared with the loss to the king. King Xerxes responds at once. Who is he, and where is he, who has dared to do this? Esther answers without delay. A foe and enemy, this wicked Haman. Haman is terrified before the king and the queen. The king rises in anger and leaves the banquet hall for the palace garden. Inside the banquet room, Haman remains. He falls on the couch where Esther reclines, pleading for his life. When the king returns from the palace garden and sees him there, he says, Will he even assault the queen in my presence in my own house? As the word leaves the king's mouth, they cover Haman's face. Then Hathach, one of the eunuchs, says, Moreover, the pole that Haman has prepared for Mordecai, whose word saved the king, stands at Haman's house 50 cubits high. And the king says, Hang him on that. Haman is hanged on the pole he prepared for Mordecai. The king's anger subsides. The architect of annihilation is removed, but the decree remains. The decree, written in the king's name and sealed with his ring, has already been sent to every province. It has been proclaimed in the cities and cannot be revoked. On that day, the king gives the house of Haman to Esther, and Mordecai comes before him, for Esther has revealed what he is to her. The king removes his signet ring, taken from Haman, and gives it to Mordecai, and Esther sets him over Haman's house. Then Esther speaks again before the king. She falls at his feet and weeps, pleading with him to turn back the evil plan Haman the Agagite devised against the Jews. The king extends the golden scepter. She rises and stands before him. The law cannot be undone. So the king tells Esther and Mordecai to write in his name as they see fit, and to seal it with the royal ring, for what is written in the king's name and sealed with his ring cannot be revoked. Scribes are summoned. On the 23rd day of the 3rd month they write according to all that Mordecai commands, to the Jews, to the satraps, governors and officials of the provinces from India to Cush, in every script and every language, including the language of the Jews. The new decree does not cancel the first. It answers it. The Jews are permitted to assemble and defend their lives on the appointed day, to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate any armed force that might attack them, along with women and children, and to plunder their goods. The letters are sealed with the king's ring. Couriers ride out swiftly, mounted on royal horses bred from the king's stud, pressed on by the king's command. The same roads that carried news of annihilation now carry news of defense. The date does not change. The day marked for destruction remains on the calendar. But now the people are no longer without recourse. Mordecai leaves the king's presence clothed in royal blue and white, with a great golden crown and a robe of fine linen and purple. The man who once stood at the gate now walks in public authority. In Susa, the city rejoices. Among the Jews there is light and gladness, joy and honor. In every province, wherever the king's command and decree reach, there is gladness and feasting. The people prepare to assemble on the appointed day. The first decree still stands, but they will not face it unarmed. The appointed day arrives. Across the provinces of the Persian Empire, the Jews assemble in their cities to defend their lives. The decree that once marked them for destruction now permits them to stand. In every province, the officials of the satraps, governors, and royal administrators support them, for the fear of Mordecai has fallen upon them. His authority increases throughout the empire. Those who sought their harm are struck down. In Susa alone, 500 men fall in a single day, including the 10 sons of Haman. The king reports the number to Esther. At her request, 1 additional day is granted in Susa, and Haman's sons are hanged on the gallows. The struggle continues there for another day. Across the empire, 75,000 who had sought to attack the Jews are struck down. The number is great, but the record repeats one detail carefully. They lay no hand on the plunder. Though the decree had permitted it, they do not take it. When the fighting ends, the people rest. In the provinces, they rest on the 14th day of the month. In Susa, they rest on the 15th. What had been appointed for annihilation becomes a day of relief. The date does not disappear. It is remembered. Rest follows resistance. What had been marked for destruction becomes a day of feasting. Sorrow turns to gladness. Mourning becomes a holiday. Families gather. Tables are set. Relief replaces dread. Mordecai records these events and sends letters to all the Jews throughout the provinces of the empire, both near and far. These days are to be remembered each year, observed at their appointed time. A pattern is established. They are to be marked by feasting and gladness, by sending portions of food to one another and gifts to the poor. These days are not to pass away from among the Jews, nor their remembrance from their offspring. The feast is called Purim, from the word pur, the lot Haman cast to fix the day of their destruction. What was cast to determine their ruin now names the day of their relief. The decree is not erased, it is remembered. The letters are confirmed by Esther the queen and by Mordecai the Jew, and the observance is established among the Jews and their offspring. Many among the peoples of the land declare themselves Jews, for the fear of the Jews has fallen upon them. The covenant people endure. They remain scattered, but they remain. The empire continues, and the promise given to their fathers endures. No trumpet announces it, no prophet interprets it. Yet history moves forward. The scroll of Esther never speaks the name of God, but it records a fast. Before she enters the inner court, Esther sends word, "Go, gather all the Jews, and hold a fast on my behalf." Before she speaks, she seeks the Lord. Before she risks her life, she calls her people to humble themselves. Then she says, "If I perish, I perish." No guarantee of rescue, no promise of safety, only obedience. She prepares in dependence. She steps forward in courage, and the people are preserved. God is not named in the story, but his faithfulness is not absent from it. When we seek him and when we obey him, he remains faithful to his purposes. Some moments will ask the same of you. Seek him first, then stand, even when the outcome is not yet seen. And trust that the God who preserved his people remains faithful still.